Hello, I'm Dr. Jerry Parrish. I'm the Chief Economist at the Florida Chamber Foundation, and welcome to this edition of Florida by the Numbers. Today, as always, I want to give an update on the monthly jobs numbers we just received. And I want to talk about some of the economic impacts that Florida is facing after Hurricane Irma. First, the job numbers. You can see that on the Florida scorecard that Florida created 221,400 jobs year over year. That's a 2.6% increase compared to the U.S. rate of 1.4%. The amount of open jobs also tracked on the Florida scorecard shows that there are 232,000 jobs looking for people in Florida. That compares with 408,000 people looking for jobs, down slightly from the 412,000 people unemployed last month. Both of these are substantially down from the 481,000 unemployed in August of 2016 last year. That reminds us that Florida continues to have a skills gap. Job creation in Florida remains balanced, with 4 categories showing more than 30,000 jobs increase. Construction still has the highest growth rate at 7.3% year over year. Interestingly, manufacturing showed the second highest growth rate this month at 3.4% over the past year, and that's more than 12,000 manufacturing jobs created. This slide shows the year-over-year job creation, and although Florida is still creating jobs at a higher rate than the U.S., the numbers have been slowing since the peak in April 2016. Currently, at 221,400 jobs, we're running at 72.5% of the rate we were at the peak of this business cycle. Here's the map that shows by county the job creation and creation rate in Florida over the past 12 months. You can see that Miami-Dade had the top number, but Manatee County produced the highest growth rate. There were 4 Florida counties that lost jobs over the past year. You can compare your county's job growth rate with the U.S. rate of 1.4% and the Florida rate of 2.6% during this time period. Now I want to talk about what we can expect of an economic impact from Hurricane Irma. One of the things we track on the Florida scorecard is the amount of policies and exposure that Citizens Property Insurance has in our state. This slide, which I downloaded just the way you see it from the Florida scorecard, shows that depopulation efforts of Citizens Property have dropped both in number of policies and the exposure. There were more than 1.5 million policies and $500 billion worth of exposure at one point. Our Q2 number shows that we have a little over 455,000 policies with $123.2 billion in exposure now. Although we won't know the final damage numbers for a while, it looks like both Citizens Property and the Florida Hurricane Catastrophe Fund, what we call the CAT Fund, have reserves to cover all the expected damages. I spoke to Ann Burt, the Chief Operating Officer of the CAT Fund, and they have more than $14 billion in liquid assets, plus another $1 billion in reinsurance that they have ready for paying claims. I spoke to the reinsurance industry. They are prepaying some claims and ready with capital to pay future claims in Florida. The good news is there's plenty of capital both to pay the claims now and plenty for reinsurance next year. The key thing to note is that when our state pays for damages, all the costs are up front. It's true that in the future we'll see a spike in sales tax and other tax collections during the rebuilding process. However, Florida will not make money on these storms. You can see from this slide that in the past, Florida has paid out more than it has received in added tax revenue. Not included on this table is the fact that last year, Florida spent $76.2 million on Hermine and Matthew cleanup. I'm confident that the numbers for Irma will be substantially higher, but we know that Florida will rebuild. I hope that all Floridians will be safe during the cleanup and rebuilding of the areas that were hit by Irma. Thanks for watching this edition of Florida by the Numbers. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me at the Florida Chamber Foundation. Thank you.